Which league was he playing in? He doesn't have 3 World Cups. He's got 2 World Cups. Pele was not the best player in that game. We simply don't have enough footage. So I say to myself that, So we are told that he is, without a doubt, the greatest football player of all time. That's what we're told. And for so long, we've accepted it, I've triple accepted it because he's black. Okay, look, I'm obviously, look, he's black, I'm black, he's dark skinned, look, I'm going to have to accept it. But we have to be real. All because we are told something. All because the big media and the big corporations and legendary players tell us something. Does that mean that we have to accept it, or do we critique it, or do we try and at least question it? We should question everything. Everything should be questioned, every single thing. So let's start off first at the top. Pele is pretty much known for almost scoring 1,000 goals. On Wikipedia, they put it down to about 600 and something goals that he has scored. But apparently, he has actually even scored even much more goals that have been recorded. Question. Which league was he playing in? Mostly. And which league did he score most of these goals in? In the Brazilian league. What level was the Brazilian league? Now, at that time, during whatever it was, the 50s, 60s, or 70s, was the Brazilian league seen as the elite form of competition? Did it have the best defenders? Did it have the best tactics? Because 100% goals are goals, and that's an amazing amount of goals. But scoring loads of goals in a sideman league is different from scoring a lot of goals in an elite league, where there are better defenders, much more physical defenders, much more astute, far more intelligent the defenders as well. So that argument of this guy has scored an insane amount of goals doesn't sit well with me. And if we're using the goals argument, then he's an amazing striker. Then he's an amazing goal scorer. All because you scored loads of goals doesn't make you the greatest player of all time. Because if you're to be called the GOAT, I need far more than just G's. And I need far more than just unverified G's. And I need far more than just G's scored in a league that we cannot verify as to the quality of the defenders in that said league. So people say he's got 3 World Cups and he is the World Cup king. Let's correct that. He doesn't have 3 World Cups. He's got 2 World Cups. So 100% he got the World Cup in, of course, 1938, which was amazing as like a 17-year-old. 1962, he got injured. And the guy that carried Brazil to that World Cup was Garrincha. Garrincha was carrying Brazil to that World Cup. So I do not count that as a World Cup win because he got injured in the group stage. But of course, he definitely got the World Cup in 1970 in perhaps one of the greatest Brazil teams of all time. I'll give him 1958. I'm not going to give you 1962. That's for Garrincha. Let's talk about 1970. Was Pele really the best player in that team? Was Pele really the best player in that tournament? Now, I had the privilege of sitting down because I wanted to, because I'm a football aficionado. I sat down and I believe I watched the full 1970 World Cup final because I just wanted to watch it. And as I was watching it, yes, Pele scored 2 goals in that game. Pele was not the best player in that game. The best player on that pitch was a guy by the name of Rivellino. Rivellino ran that game. For 90 minutes, he was the player that stood out. Of course, it was an amazing team and perhaps the greatest team of all time, but the best player on that pitch was Rivellino. So I say to myself that, how can we hold Pele in such high regard when he wasn't even the best player in that Brazil team where people talk to view him as being the GOAT, specifically for what he did in that 1970 team? So it goes back to our original statement. Yes, he scored those G's. Yes, amazing that he's one of those rare players alongside that German home, I think something Bremner, who has scored goals in 2 separate World Cup finals. That's amazing. That's amazing. Oh, also Zidane as well, but in open play. But that's all cool. But still, I will only give you kudos if you were the best. And he was arguably the best in 1958 as a 17-year-old. 62, he hardly featured. 1970, I'm going to argument that Rivellino was the best player in that team. Now, everybody played their role, everybody was important, but I argue that Rivellino was actually the best player on that team because in that final, the biggest game, the game that meant so much, Rivellino was the best player on that flipping pitch, specifically the second half. And I think this is another really big one now. I can't go via what people say. Now, imagine in like 100, 200 years' time, people say, you know what, Rooney was the best player that I've ever seen. But then I said, well, I lived in that time and Rooney was just a roadman. But he was just a roadman. So people say, Aguero was the best striker that we've ever seen. No, it wasn't. Homeboy bricked in several CLs, bricked in the internationals. So we can't go via what people have just said. We've got to use this whole thing. It's called the eye test. We simply don't have enough footage in order for us to make a proper assessment as to how good Pele was. Now, that's not through no fault of Pele, because he played at a time when TV cameras were only just coming in, and the improvements of TV cameras were only just beginning to really take up. It was only really beginning in the 70s, specifically the 80s, 90s, when you had multiple angles, better footage, color came in, and you could take a better assessment of players. So there is stuff on YouTube. There are still things on YouTube, but it's scattered. There are bits here and there, and we don't get a full, wholesome picture for us to be able to use the items and say, all right, this is how good this guy was. So when you put all those things into account, we simply have to ask ourselves, how great was Pele really?